How does it keep getting worse? Previously on Keeping Up with the Madridistas, a fallout was occurring in the dressing room with— Oi! Shut up!
Please, bro, I just want to make World Cup content.
You will make more Real Madrid videos and you will like it! A fallout was happening in the dressing room, with the most recent incident being a UFC fight between Aurelien Tchouameni and Federico Valverde. This was, by the way, a couple days before El Clasico. Real Madrid not only lost, but also granted Barcelona the league. Humiliation at the highest degree. After yet another season of going trophyless and the club in real turmoil, Real Madrid president and Dark Lord Florentino Perez organized an emergency conference out of the blue. It would be the first time that Florentino Perez would face the media since 2018 when Zinedine Zidane left. And because of that, there was a lot of speculation about what was about to happen. Was this to announce Jose Mourinho? Nah, that seems a bit too much for an emergency conference. Maybe he was gonna set the club straight and line up some really big changes. Or maybe he was just gonna retire. He is 79 and perhaps he's lost some of that sauce for success. It happens. Right off the bat, however, Florentino did his best Jordan Belfort impression and said, quote, "I'm sorry to tell you that I'm not going to resign." And what followed was a whole hour of the most incoherent and unhinged nonsense the whole world of football has ever heard. It had not even been 10 minutes, and already Netanyahu was basically losing his mind. With more paranoia than me during the 75mg edible incident, he was constantly talking about how there were figures, quote, in the shadows, conspiring to take him down. And Florentino wasn't about to sit there and let it all happen. He would go on to challenge anyone who dare slander his name with a random election. Also, a little bit off topic, but at one point, he mentioned that Real Madrid isn't a dictatorship. Well, okay, but what about the internal issues in the club? You know, like sporting director, recruitment, the medical staff. Well, Flomelander wasn't here to talk about sporting issues because that wasn't the problem anyways. Real Madrid's actual issues were because of the journalists. It was the Mole's fault. It was the Ultra's fault. It was some dude with a Mexican accent's fault. Also, pretty much most of this conference was Florentino just beefing with journalists and media companies. The Dark Lord claimed La Liga made a news company that specifically paid writers to be anti-Madridista. He then whipped out his phone, referenced an article from Spanish media outlet ABC that claimed he told people close to him that he was tired right before the conference, and then started going at an ABC journalist who didn't even write the piece. Netanyahu then proceeded to go on this random 5-minute tangent about how his father gave him a subscription to ABC. They both enjoyed reading ABC a lot, but now that ABC is fake news, Florentino was gonna cancel his subscription because that's what his father would have always wanted. This is like if in the middle of doing an apology video, you just say something like, "Oh, by the way, guys, I'm unsubscribing to Paramount Plus because they can't sync audio for shit." Like, why is this here? Florentino was not done with ABC just yet, though. He went after another one of their articles criticizing Real Madrid that was written by a woman, and as this is an old Spanish figure in football, you know what's coming. There were 2 articles in the ABC today criticizing Real Madrid, one of them written by a woman who I don't even know if she knows anything about football. Christ above. But this wasn't the only bit of random misogyny this guy decided to pull. Later, when female journalist Lola Hernandez was trying to ask a question, he pointed at her saying, quote, "She's got every right to speak her mind." You know, fair enough. Hold on. And then he called the other journalists around her bloody ugly. Like, was that part necessary? Also, it appears that Flomelander is still the Japanese soldier that has been fighting for 29 years, because this guy is still talking about the European Super League 6 years later. For people not in the know, the ESL was basically a closed league consisting of 12 members across all of Europe that was proposed in 2021. It was the most blatant attempt by the richest owners in the world to widen the wealth disparity, but fortunately the ESL collapsed quicker than how it was formed. Oh, by the way, this was kind of around lockdown, which just makes this even more egregious. However, that hasn't stopped the former chairman, Florentino Perez, from constantly spewing out these bits of delusion that the Super League is still very much alive. Case in point, this conference where he talked about how the Super League would let children in Africa watch free football. It'd always be the children of Africa with these motherfuckers, I swear to God, man. Regarding the recent UFC match at Valdebebas, Florentino basically brushed it off, saying that players fight all the time, and the leaks coming out were actually worse than the fight itself. Which just goes to show what this whole conference was for in general. Florentino's reputation, and basically nothing else. Anytime a journalist dare criticize this guy, he would just talk about how Real Madrid is the greatest institution in the galaxy, 15 Champions League, 200 basketball titles, 14 billion La Liga titles, 15 Champions League. This motherfucker even referenced valuations of transfer market at one point. I also remember when I was watching like the dubbed version of the entire thing. By the way, great video, definitely watch. He started talking about how he was Real Madrid's savior because apparently before him, Real Madrid couldn't pay for, I don't know, player wages or the stadium or I don't know, the electric bill. The president also continued to throw stones in a glass house talking about the Negreira case, which basically revolves around allegations of collusion between former vice president of the technical committee of referees and FC Barcelona. Yahoo said shit like, "We've won nothing this year, but I've only won 7 Champions Leagues and 7 La Ligas, and I could have won 14, but the others they stole from me." Flomlander also mentioned that the club was building a dossier to send to the courts. What does any of this have to do with the current crisis, man? By the way, throughout this hour-long mess, Madrid's press officer was practically begging for this to end. He apparently tried to bring the conference to a close on 2 separate occasions, to which Perez said, "I have nothing else to do this evening." Well, no shit, that's probably been the case all year, seeing how you're looking at what the newspapers are writing about you at any given moment. Easily my favorite quote from this schizo rant, though, had to be this. "They think they can get me out of Real Madrid, but they'll have to shoot me. We are Florentino, we carry the ref." Now, all the while this shit show was unfolding, this was what Mbappe was up to.
You will be surprised to know that sometimes in my day off, I love to do nothing and stay home.
But this conference could not have gone worse. Which maybe it could have, since the whole theme of this saga has been the fact that somehow everything just keeps getting worse. I remember when I first heard about this emergency conference, maybe like an hour before it occurred, and kind of thought to myself, well, maybe there'll be some genuine efforts for change here. I mean, it is an emergency conference. Whether that would be through Florentino or maybe someone else since he was going to resign, you know? Either way, there is going to be some change, and, you know, maybe I wouldn't be making a Real Madrid video for the rest of my life. But instead, the conference basically summed up everything that is wrong with Real Madrid right now. Again, not one mention. Actually, there was one mention. It was the players fighting, but then he just blamed the media for that. But seriously, not one mention about the sporting decisions. In fact, he basically said himself that none of that even mattered. Instead, he spent a whole hour acting like a victim. It's no wonder why the rest of the team does the same shit with the referee every single game. Hold on one second, because Florentino actually did talk about the team's performance. He did it on an interview the very next day. But of course, you know, it wasn't the team's fault. It was actually the Club World Cup. You know, Bayern and PSG were in the final tournament too, right? You know, PSG were in the final. Oh, what's that more shit? Will this team fucking let me rest? So during Real's latest match versus Real Oviedo, Mbappe was booed while being subbed on. Meanwhile, Florentino Perez was beefing with the fans. There was actually banners saying Florentino out that were removed by the club. And the club basically claimed that they weren't doing censorship because the paper wasn't fire resistant. Okay, man. Oh yeah, and then after the game, there was a whole civil war between Mbappe and Arbeloa. This is the funniest week ever when it comes to Real Madrid. How does it keep getting funnier? But anyways, Mbappe said in a press conference that Arbeloa said he was the 4th striker. Arbeloa claimed that he never said that though. Also, Mbappe said he doesn't even watch Arbeloa's press conferences. Instead, he watches, quote, French TV. Bro, what the fuck is this club? And finally, Mbappe apparently said that Florentino Perez is the best president in the world, and Real Madrid are very lucky to have him. Well, no shit. Y'all were basically sexting each other before you even signed. Okay, that's enough. I'm putting this video out. Whatever happens afterwards, you're not seeing another video from me for like at least a week or 2. I can't do this anymore. Now, here's the question. Is there a direction going forward for Real Madrid? I mean, maybe? The elections could have a more serious candidate, especially since the last ones had no one. And with the club in crisis, no trophies in 2 years, and also that press conference, the opponent could have a better chance. But I don't know, man. I don't think anything actually changes unless the guy actually resigns. But what do you guys think? I mean, I've asked this question so many times and it just keeps getting worse, so just say whatever in the comments, I don't care anymore. Hopefully, and I mean seriously, I hope to God I can finally make the Arsenal season review and also all the World Cup stuff that I was kind of looking forward to making. I guess now I won't have to worry about putting the Arsenal video out like the day after the league is done. I'll just do it a little bit later because I haven't put anything together yet. Anyways, enough of the frustrations there. A massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas and my before Janos Balas, German Sayu 7, Jeremiah Owosu Ajimang, Django, Anazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Kentra Gatra, Saint Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Cheesebait, Winter Gel, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portergeyser, Wise Orange, Polo Protos, Fun Fan, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Leakstab, Mutanai, Apollo, Thrilling ADT13, Los Milos, La James Braun, Facino, Napside, Money Cash Host, Quantavious Pork, Lilia Lover, Stewed Monk, Red Yellow, Fuxi, MXN, Harry Maguire's Love Toenail, Flakitio, Thierry's Thoughts, Julian Alvarez, Laser 7, Barca Blanco, Mark GB, Kev C, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krez, Mohammed Altanib, Nish, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member on the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch because again, I'm gonna be doing that Arsenal watch along for the Champions League final and probably one also on Monday for the game versus Burnley. So tune in for that. But until then, I'll see you guys.